So traditionally, I don't get a lot of students who've never touched anything. And that always becomes a conversation starter. And that's where the business nugget comes in as well. Ms. Ellis, I had you down for that because I know where they're going. We may not talk about it, but it's almost like it's your responsibility. How could I let them go and not give them a little game, get them a little bit? And so whether they take it all or hold off or not, they're not going home. They're not going and just sitting there until the next time we have class. They're literally going in working. And I found the last couple of years, majority of my students have come in on the backwards end where they've already been infiltrated into the industry and by way of, and they're returning this way, just being forced to or saying, enough is enough. I never get where I'm going if I don't get my license. And so we get those two. I even had a grandma come to me and she said, I want to make sure all of my girls have a piece of paper. A Spanish mom. I want to make sure all my girls had a piece of paper before she left this earth, and she was just already sickly. So that made me even more want to help her out. So I was super excited about that. All right, so let's look at this screen. We are now streaming. And all right, welcome. Okay, Miss P, welcome to the class tonight. You came right on. It's good to have you. Go ahead and put your name in the chat. It's the roll call. When you do the roll call tonight, can you also put your name and what are your favorite things about cosmetology? We have two of our junior instructors that are on tonight. They're training to be educators, and we want to get to know a little bit about you. So come on in the Zoom room. Let me see you go into the chat. If you would, you're already unmuted. Can you say hello? Let's make sure it's a live person on that end. Can you give us a greeting, Ms. Paquetta? Are you here? Ms. Paquetta, we need a live acknowledgement that you're here. Can you say something? I saw you. You're back on mute. Can you unmute for me? Say something. Give us a greeting. Good evening. Good evening. I know everyone's when you come on, it takes a minute, but it's the roll call, Ms. Paquetta, and I need you to unmute and say something to us.
Good evening. My name is Faquia Bradford.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How was your weekend, Ms. Paquetta?
It was pretty decent. I had a kind of productive weekend at work, so yeah, it was okay.
Okay. Okay. Have you been getting with that mentor? Those mentors? Mentors.
Tuesday through Sunday, I'm with him.
One thing about mentors, it's a blessing, but when they gonna be on you, they gonna be on you, they want you to learn everything that they're trying to teach.
Yeah, it's a blessing, but like you said, they be on me so bad. I'm like, I can't get a break at all. No, okay, well let me just hush.
With my educators, Miss Edwards and Miss Hill, Miss Paquetta has two mentors and they pour in her from from everything. She says Tuesday through Sunday. But you know what? You're gonna look back on it, you're gonna be like, man, I needed that. And some of the stuff that you are remembering from 20 years from now, it'll be the little stuff that they showed you. You be like, I needed that. It's gonna all work out. So I'm excited. I want them to stay on. I know that's just a word for Jada. She already do it.
Yes.
All right. So just give us a moment, Ms. Paquetta. I do have my juniors on here. They will be evaluating class and participating this evening. We won't do a whole lot, but we're going to give a summary on the hair removal chapter. And also make sure you turn in your check-in questions, okay?
They didn't go through?
I did. You already emailed them? When you
Yes.
email them?
You wanted them Saturday before 10 a.m. I did it Friday night.
Okay. I ain't go
I'll
back
I'll
and look.
resend it
Don't
though.
be-
I,
don't
I'll
get
resend it.
scared. Don't get scared.
Okay.
Let me go back and check. See, you
Okay.
be on it. You don't sit there early. Yeah, don't worry. I'm gonna go back and check it, and we'll look at it. But if you did turn them in, which I know you did, I just need to go back and check them. I was doing some reviews last night, and I just need to go back a little further. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So great, great. Hold tight. I'm gonna go over this review with them, and then we'll get started on that summary. Roll call and motivation. So did you put your name in the chat, Ms. Paquetta? I know you did a verbal introduction, but when we're in the virtual classroom with my instructors always make sure that you have documentation that the student is actually in. Um, and I have taken a notation, Ms. Paquetta, with Ms. Richardson about time because it was doing something crazy on Friday. And so she has taken you all the way back and notated it, okay? Um,
Thank you.
no problem, no problem. And could you between she did you also, Miss Edwards, for this week, just send an email or a text in a group present, and it will be taken care of. If you could send an email, she gets the email, just say clocking in or something like that. So she should have it straight this week. But roll call
Okay.
and motive, awesome. Y'all know I talk real fast. Roll call and motivation. Roll call is just acknowledging who's in the building, who's your audience, what students are on. Um, and then also, since it is live streamed, I don't know. I don't think my other student is on, so she's gonna get a copy of this. But who's on? The students have to clock in, so we have at least two documentations that they're on. So if you have a course, just say Miss Edwards, Miss Hill, where it's virtual, like coming up, I got an 8-hour course where every 45 to 50 minutes I have to do a roll call, which means every 45 and 50 minutes, I'm going to do a 10 to 15-minute break, mostly 10. So every 50 minutes, 10 minutes break. And as they return from the break, I will do a roll call. And that will be continued documentation that that student is, that attendee is on. Okay. That's how they're able to calculate any clock hours that they have to check back in. But from a teaching notice, more than 50 minutes on just a particular screen or just not having no screen at all, just virtual, it just makes us lose the student. So we want to have some variety. And what you guys are going to see is you're going to see this change and you'll never see this again. Okay. This is going to change to at least 2 to 3 different colors and you'll never see this one page again. And today's objective is to do a closing summary on our hair removal chapter. And it's going to incorporate business components as well. The students had to do the check-in for the assignment for this chapter. There was check-in questions for this chapter, and with check-in questions also turned into review questions. All students also have access to our portal. This also is the time to tell the students where to go in the portal and any particular things you want them to look for going forward. Key points Key points are going to be those things that you want to really pull out of the lesson that you want to discuss. What does this look like when you are writing a lesson plan? It is your notes. So we are not going to read straight out of the book to the student, but it should be, if we're talking about hair removal, it should be something, even now, your mind is going back to hair removal as a licensed professional. You're thinking about wax and you're thinking about laser and you think about sugar and whatever hair removal sounds like to you, and you're already pulling those key components out. Okay, so those are key points you always want to highlight. Those key points become your notes. We call them teaching notes. And for right now, if you're going to take the instructor test in Tennessee, you have to present teaching notes. So although you're going to teach, but you also have to have the notes. We know what chapter you're going to teach, and but we know your lesson plan, but it got to be some notes. Okay, so those notes are going to be the most important for theory, and you got to present notes for practical. And so you'll say, Ms. Cox, what does it look like? It just looked like something bullet pointed here. Okay, just different aspects that you're going to be able to discuss and pull out and to enrich the lesson. Breakout sessions. All right, breakout sessions are great for virtual classrooms when you have 3 or more students. And I say 3 or more students because if it's one instructor with 2 students, you are the breakout session. Okay. But if you're looking at 3 or more students, you can definitely start to split up. Many individuals, if you give me 5 to 6 students, I at least have 2 to 3 breakouts. What does that look like? Remember, if we were in a classroom setting, you could partner up with someone. That's what that looks like. So you would partner them up, and they would go over to virtual LAN A, and then the rest of them will go to virtual LAN B. You can give them 2 separate assignments, and then they will come back at a particular time. So those breakout sessions are going to be essential to making sure that every student is following you, because I don't make a deal about them having the camera off. I don't make a deal about that, but they should always be in a participation mode. Okay, should always be interactive in a participation mode. And then when it comes to business notes, it's the nuggets. And remember what I said, most of my students that I have, they come in already having a salon of beauty background, not just background from family, not just a background from family, but you also have a background of them actively working or assisting somewhere in a salon. And I always tell my students, Tennessee does not have a licensure for shampooing. Everybody should be in somebody's salon learning the ins and outs of cleaning, answering the phones, and also shampooing, because those things are not regulated by our states, but it gives you good practice until you actually be able to work on clients. Okay. And so the business notes has become essential because a high percentage of our students are actively working in the field. And if you ever thought that you had a hand in changing the way something is done, you absolutely do. So while you have them under your sound of your voice, input something into them. Okay, input something in. And then, of course, name 4 teaching aids that would help teach this course. All right. And here's one teaching aid. One teaching aid is the PowerPoint. So you can name 3 other teaching aids that could help you teach this course. And although we are virtual, okay, there are other teaching aids you could do, from videos to hands-on training to pictures and posters. I mean, imagination is limitless. Okay. So name 4 teaching aids that would help teach this course. And those 4 teaching aids, you can really copy off of the learning styles. Any rhythm students, if the student you have majority rhythm students, a dance, a chant, anything, TikTok. Because if you have a generation that on TikTok is going to be a good icebreaker in the mornings as far as TikTok dances or them teaching you. You involve them into the class, and that has caused them to relax and be able to learn. Learning, their walls are down, so learning can happen. And so just think about 4 teaching aids that would help teach your course. And so we're going to prepare now. I'm gonna pull back and ask my teachers, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay. So we did a roll call. We're gonna prepare for our motivation, and then we're gonna close out with business nugget at the end. So it's a short presentation and it's a review. So it's not like we're hearing this for the first time. It's a review, and it's some things on this presentation that are concentrated because they're going to see it again. All right, let's go into our lesson. All right, and so I'm going to put it in, I think, what are Ms. Hills? I'm going to put it in your hands, and you can introduce our chapter and begin your motivation.
Okay, so we're doing chapter review, professional image hair removal. And my motivational speech is every level of success requires a new level of discipline.
Mm. Ooh, I like that. I like that. Now choose any one of us to give you some reflections.
Okay, I'm gonna let you give us some because I'm sure you know with students how every level is and how discipline is so important.
Discipline is actually on my prayer board this year. I think with every place, what I got from that, every level and every new place you want to go, there has to be a place where you have to let go of the old and have some discipline about yourselves. And so for me, when you think about, I'm gonna give an example, buying a house, I can't necessarily keep spending money as I make it. Because as beauty professionals, we make money every day. And so it's not wise of me to just spend the money. And then when it's time or the opportunity comes to purchase or buy the house, I don't have the money there. I didn't save it. I didn't I didn't preserve it, put it over here. I didn't say I was going to do that. I just continue to almost like, and this is for me, waste it. Okay. And so I think for the new places that I want to go, I'm going to have to carry some discipline. And it's even discipline in what I give my attention to. Okay, you can, even if you're really opinionated, everything does not deserve your opinion. And so it's discipline in that area of reserving my voice, my point. Everybody don't have to hear my point because it distracts me from what I'm supposed to be doing. So that is absolutely true. Discipline is on there. So I don't have to prove nothing to anybody. Just got to keep on going. And also discipline and finances as well. And I just want to see me in that place where I'm going. And it's going to require me to tame the tongue. It's going to require me not to always be able to do the input. It's just going to require something more. So that's my take on that motivation. What do you think? What's after
Good.
that? All right. Anybody else? Paquetta, you are our subject today. And so Miss Hill asked Paquetta what she thinks about that.
Oh wow. Okay. Um. Well, for me, my biggest thing I'm learning here, and I'm dealing with it for years, and not being so hard on myself. The expectations that my parents had for me is like I've been battling that for years, but what they wanted for me isn't what I wanted for me. So it almost feels like I'm failing them to a certain extent. But this year it's okay, you've been going back and forth with this for entirely too long. This is what you want to do. Put yourself first. And so that's like a new level for me. Honestly, that goes back to what Miss D was saying. That's discipline too, because I'll sit there and be like, you know what? I ain't no point of me doing this. It's really not because I'm gonna hear my parents' mouth. But like I told Miss D when I signed up for it, the only people that know that I'm in here is me and her and Jada now. But yeah, that's it. But yeah, I'm learning to not be so hard on myself this year, which is a new level for me.
Mm. I'm just sitting back, Miss Hill. What do you say to that?
I'm sorry, my daughter walked in. I got distracted. What was it again? I'm sorry.
Miss Edwards, what do you say about that? I was asking you, I said that was deep what she
Um,
was saying. I was saying, what, what do you tell a student after hearing that?
I want to say congratulations because that's amazing. That's a big thing to do, being disciplined with being true to who you are and what you want versus what others want for you. So, congratulations. I'm happy for you. That's a great thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Wow. And guys, when we talk about building relationship with students, I want you guys to check in with her because that's sometimes when they're dealing with that person in their personal lives and then they show up every day. People have real stuff going on, right? That doesn't mean just be like baby and mothering, but it means, real life stuff is going on. Let me just check in and make sure she's good because if she's good and her mind is not all over the place, guess what? She could show up and be her best when she's in the classroom. And so our job, we're teachers, but we're also motivators. Thank you, Ms. Hill, for that. Pushers. And if we had quiet students that really did not open up as much, that would have been a great pass around the classroom and get their perspectives because now you're hearing it from different people. So I absolutely love that. So good job. Thank you. Everybody go put a one in the chat. Thank you, Miss Hill. We appreciate you. A one in the chat. A one in the chat. Good job, good job. And ladies, I do refer to the chat as well as a form of human connection to make sure that they're there. Let's look at, we're going to move in here. And Paquetta, I want to take as many questions as you have as well. So now that we have moved swiftly through that chapter, there are some key components I do want us to visit, and we'll always visit even when we come in for a little study and practice. But here's some aspects as well. Why study professional image? It's not even, we look at new students coming in, and it's something that when you're coming into something new, you're going into interviews, it is something that we always have to look. There has to be a presentation. Okay. And so when I look at studying professional image, there are three aspects we look at: client expectations. What do other people see? Do you call yourself a beautician? And this is what you have to ask yourself when you get your life. Am I going to call myself a beautician? Am I going to call myself a cosmetologist, or am I a hairstylist? Like, what do you answer to? And so, client expectations, whatever you say, it also is going to automatically give them an image. And so, if you want to call yourself professional, um, cosmetologist, fine. When I hear the word cosmetologist, I think more stronger. I think beauty school. And then when I hear professional hairdresser, I see still a order. I see black and white. I see order. I see cutting. That's what I see. Okay. Because I remember how I learned about styles. We called it hairdressing. And so they called us professional hairdressers. And that was, of course, older age. And then there's cosmetologists, and then you have a lot of individuals in the beauty industry that call themselves hairstylists. And so, and not just a stylist, because a stylist could be a clothing professional as well. So it's hairstylist, cosmetologist, hair extraordinary, whatever you want to call yourself. You have to figure that part out. But whatever you say, remember, it's going to come with a client expectation, which means you're going to have to look the part. Absolutely look the part. Okay. Can someone give me a pet peeve already? I don't want to go sit in anyone's chair that has pajamas on, night pajamas. I don't want to sit in nobody that has pajamas on can do my hair. That's just me. Do anyone else have a pet peeve of what their expectations of a professional? It doesn't even have to be a beauty professional.
Their hygiene is not up to par.
Hygiene.
Like,
there we go.
like you smell something on them, and even if they're standing behind you, you can still smell like their breath. I don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's disturbing. I remember in shampooing, and we can have our fun time in shampooing. I shampooed a client, and you know how they tell me, just don't say nothing. And I'm like, I'm over you. I'm shampooing. If I'm making sure my behind the scenes is up to par, which means my hygiene. I got peppermint and gum. Do not deny the gum, ma'am. Take the gum, okay? Or don't say anything at all. That always tends to be a big thing with your clients. They just don't want a piece of gum, and you know why you're giving them a piece of gum. So that's a part of your hygiene as well. So that's something we look at as far as client expectations. The same expectations we look for in any professional, they're going to look for that in us. Client confidence. Okay. Clients are I'm looking for my clients to have confidence, and they're also looking for us to have confidence. All right. If you're not confident you can do the job, I'm not confident that you can do the job. All right. So I have to feel some type of authority. So if you're doing my hair, I want to know that when you're partnering, you're strong about this, what you're finna get ready to do. So probably not so much light-handedness. That just does not transfer into confidence. And I have to tell my students, comb that hair. All right. Human interactions. What I have patience with is sometimes you get students directly out of high school. And what do you do when they come in, Miss Edwards, and they finish school early? They finish homeschool at 16. And from 16, they're done with high school and they come straight into your school. And think about if you had a 16-year-old at home, what mannerism are you teaching between 16 and 18? they're going to get that from your classroom, the 16-year-old. So not only is home raising them, if they have one, if they have parents, but you're raising them as well. So my youngest student, I always in May and June have 16 and 17-year-olds that start. Okay. 16, 17, 18, mostly spring, summer is when I have my teens that start, like literally they're finished with high school. And some of them are being there last year. I've had so many calls now from individuals. I'm 14, I'm 16, I'm 17, I'll be 17 in June, and I'm graduating high school. And so they don't know a lot about human interactions. They know their family, they know what they've been in school, but when they come into new spaces, it's still kind of foreign. So you almost have to take their hand and teach them about that consultation, that conversation, that golden rule, So the golden rule, any forms of ethics, being nice when you walk into the room, speaking and acknowledging, everyone. And so a lot of that, we cannot think that it's taught. We have to reinforce that. That's just something we do. And so not only is home raising them or not, but we have to do some raising as well. All right. So that human interactions, and I find that my students are really, really shy. It's amazing that when they get halfway or down the road, how much open that they have become when they are comfortable, when they feel safe. Our job as educators is to make every student feel safe in the classroom. Can I get Ms. Edwards or Ms. Hill to tell me how I can make my students feel safe in the classroom?
By making them just, feel comfortable with conversation, being open to hear anything they have to say. They feel like it's a safe space.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Because sometimes people just want to be heard. They ain't got much to say. There ain't gonna be no problem. They just want to be their opinion to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Without judgment, I would say. Like
Yes.
without judging them. Hmm.
I like, and y'all, you know what? And make it an okay space. We ain't never gonna, no one's never gonna agree 100%. And so don't feel like everybody has to agree with you. And I even tell people, you don't have to agree with me, because I want you to be true in who you are. But as a teacher, we do have to stand on our 10s and 12s and 15s, whatever we got, because we become that mama bear too. Ain't nobody gonna mess with my student now. Ain't nobody else gonna disrespect it either. So we build that rapport and relationship up, and that when a student knows that it's a safe space, and that safe space also means them talking to you about a learning barrier or whatever's going on at home or however it intercepted the classroom, and to know that what they said, state where they put it, that's going to be a big thing. And if a student cannot trust you, you can't build a relationship with them. It's just not going to be, yeah, it's going to have to come to Jesus and start all back over again. Okay. We look at beauty and wellness, professional image, the impression you project through your outward appearance and your conduct in the workplace. So I'm preparing you in school now, whether you stay working where you at or you move on to the next place. I'm preparing you for more. I'm moving on, but I remember there was a time when I worked at a corporate beauty school. And when I tell you, I had teachers. Now we're a team, but they said, why are you building their hopes up? Now, at the time, I was teaching, and I also was platform artistry. Okay. And I was gone every weekend teaching classes. I was building something. I knew what I wanted. I was building something. And the Lord was just opening up doors, and I was doing that. But when I was going out, my job was to come back. And what I was given is, let me tell you what they're doing over in New York. Let me tell you what they're doing over in Las Vegas. And the students will say, tell us about Chicago and tell us about this. And I would say, you can do it too. All you got to do is such and such, such and such. You can do it too. Now, mind you, I did not have a lot of their struggles going up, but it does not matter whether I had those struggles that they had. It does not matter that their neighborhood they were in stereotyped them. That does not hold them down. And so I basically was telling them that they could do it. And I actually had some colleagues tell me, stop selling them dreams. And it made me want to keep not sell the dream. It made me want to keep telling them that what they could do. You could do it. You could do it. You could do it. I don't care what it looks like. You can do it. And when I tell you, many of them are moved in salons, Texas, Georgia. They're in Memphis, still doing hair, all kinds of stuff. New York. I still have a young man. He's older than me, but he played around in everybody else's classroom, but he had to be held accountable in my class. When he comes to Memphis, he says, Miss Cox, where are you at? What do you want? What do you need? And I'm like, what? He's like, literally, you made me turn it around. What do you need? What can I buy you? Do you need anything? And I'm like, well, Cynthia said something, so it's that type of relationship. So, you gotta be you, you just gotta give those impressions and you gotta keep on going no matter what they say. Okay. You gotta build that up for the student. And they have to have a safe place. It gotta be a place where they trust you. We just talked about hygiene. We look at daily hygiene for a beauty professional, even our students. Daily bathe, daily bath. Now, I have had some students that do not bathe daily. Were foreigners. They were not accustomed to bathing, but um, we were in a safe space classroom that we had a discussion of what we expect. And so even though they didn't do it daily, they were fortunate enough to say, hey, or they were just really cool and say, hey, we will do that to make sure we're good, but we ain't never had to do it like that. But yeah, they were not accustomed to daily bathing. Hair maintenance, I tell my students, you don't have to have it laid down to the side all the time, but it should be neat. Skincare does not have to have a whole lot of makeup on, but it should be clean and clear, neat. Or hygiene, food and drink, deodorant, hand washing, avoiding heavy fragrances. All of these are good practices. And we're talking about hair removal. You're going to be in intimate spaces with you and your client. And so this is the time now to start prepping. When we are talking about building clientele, you're going to have a conversation. Okay. And sometimes it's just you and him. And based on first impression, yeah, you got to know what you're talking about, but they're going to look and make sure that you have your image in place as well. You want to create balance, okay? Diet, exercise, rest, relaxation, things that we promote for our clients. We also want to make sure we're doing it as well. Avoid smoking, drinking, and drugs. Now, here's what I found out to my educators. I found out that it is true. What you present, you also attract. Have my educators ever seen that before? The type
Yeah.
of stylist or esthetician you are, you attract that same kind of stylist or esthetician. Your clients, you attract those type of clients. So sometimes you want more clients, you want clients to do this and to be this way. You're going to have to start showing those traits as well. Because I am floored when I scrolled one day and it was local. I don't know who it was local. The young lady was doing lashes. When I said something different about all her clients, their eyes, they all high. So you can smoke weed and get your lashes done at this shop. And, and I guess she had all clients that look like they smoke weed and got lashes done at her shop. And I said, oh my goodness. If the clients know that they could drink and do drugs, that's where they go. You're going to be stuck. because you're not going to catch a professional clientele. You're not going to catch, anyone that don't want that stuff on them. You're not going to catch that. You're not going to catch a day-to-day clientele. It's going to be particular people, and you're minimizing to particular things, and it's not, you're jeopardizing your license. Okay. And in jeopardizing your license, that's $1,000 fine, and it's $1,000 fine every day. And so if that's something you have to really think about. What you put out, that's what you attract as well. So physical presentation made of posture, walking movements. When you are waxing, for example, honestly, it's not talked about, but women and men must wear the best undergarments, whether it's for back strength or brassiere. We have to make sure that we also talk about this as far as posture wise, because we have students who do a lot of things out of place. Okay. So from the cutting to the coloring to the sitting down doing the facials, they're just not ergonomic savvy, which means they don't buy tools, and we will spend money on tools that make your job easier. A lot of times that has gone out the window, so you'll have to bring that back in. They won't buy stools and things of that nature that makes their job easier. And so they're 10 years down the line where they have issues, major issues going on, and here we go. It could have been easier down the way. Looking at our conduct, good manners, the hallmark of professional interactions. Yes, everything is not common sense, but ladies and gentlemen, let's look here. I am so glad that the mask order was in for us, because I told a lot of students, if you did not wear your mask, I could see everything going on your face when we demoed this Brazilian wax. When we went into intimate waxing, I could see everything that you were thinking on your face. And I tell my students, if you have a problem and anyone had ever said, just look at your face, it tells the story, that is something to professionally work on. That is something to say, I need to build discipline with this. That's something I need to build discipline with my eyes, my eyebrows, my mouth. And when I first started doing Brazilian waxing, I put the mask on, and maybe even two masks, but one for smell, but the other one naturally was to make sure my face didn't tell the story. Okay. And so that was a code, as my students would say. I said, do you need a mask? Okay, we're getting ready to do a demo. Do you need a mask? And I remember we were getting ready for an intimate waxing session, and we were doing a young lady came in, volunteer, very familiar with getting intimate wax, Brazilian. And as I'm talking, preparing the students, one of the students that took her to get, draped and undressed, brought her back, and behind my back, I'm standing by the table. The young lady gets on the table, and she pulls up her robe and just goes straight into butterfly. And all of my students' mouths dropped. It dropped. And I turned around like, what's going on? I was like, oh, you're ready. Okay. And so I told them, they were like, I said, see, I saw everything on your face. You got to sometime find a way to just kind of gradually, somebody could have got up or just touched her on the leg and said, can you close up until we're ready? But that was something that just took them way off. And it wasn't anything with a hygiene issue, but what if there was, you know? And so going in for intimate spaces now, we tell students, make sure you put on your mask. If you know the facial expression, so this is the first time until you get comfortable, make sure you put on your mask. That way we don't make the client feel any kind of way. And a lot of people don't know that as well. Questions we ask: was I warm, friendly? Do I maintain appropriate boundaries? Am I doing too much, going too far? Okay. Do I maintain client confidentiality? It's what they, and we got to make sure we have a system for that. All right. And do I keep my ego in check? Although you may have billions of friends and families on social media, when you are working on a one-on-one, okay, what I do not like is when I see hairstylists or wig makers, and they have this really bad cocky attitude, like you owe them something. And I mean, like, please bring it down a notch. Okay. So we have these four things we should be asking ourselves before we're moving into personal spaces with clients. Okay. Mastering self control. This is again that discipline that could follow into that motivation. Count to 10 before speaking. Distance self and regain composure, which means step away and come back. And if any conflicts arise, it's always good for you to see how others will manage it. So sometimes you just need to take a moment and in your downtime, how do I manage conflict in this environment? Google it. All right. Read a book. Go get a book on managing conflict, especially if that seems to be a thing for you. You're always having an issue with clients. Get a book and figure it out. Okay. As we begin to just go steadfast in, I want to come back to now a few reviews. What we initially just discussed was how we would interact with the client. And mostly it was a checkup on us. How do we look? How do we present ourselves? And were we friendly? What we do, how it portrays onto the client. And so that's something we always would keep in check into consideration. So now as we move into the hair color component, trichology, key term, scientific study of hair and its diseases, you're going to find that certain areas are being pulled out. You're going to find that certain areas are being pulled out just for your review. Okay. Here's a few things on hair. So I pulled these together. These are on hair. This is a PowerPoint I'm actually going to send to you for review. And this will also be on our YouTube channel as well. Hair volume. What do we mean when we say that? Is how much hair you have is determined by genetics. And so even if you're doing waxing on a client, every client is going to be different. We have to take into consideration there. Do some questions about how was the hair for their father? How is your hair from your mother? Like, have you seen this in your family before? Are you the first one that have had to experience this? And so those are some good segue questions once you're one-on-one with your clients. It says hair growth is affected by age and hormones. Okay. And so that's one thing you have to always look at is hair growth is affected by age and hormones based on how old the client is, okay? And what they're going through is going to show up on their skin, and in their hair, okay? On their skin and in their hair. Let's look at our next slide. So that talks about type of hair. Now, this is where I want you to unmute and let's just have just a general acknowledgement. These are three types of hair, all right? And stages of hair growth in your life, okay? There's a myth that goes with this also, okay? So if you hear a type of hair, if you heard about a myth when it comes to types of hair, I want you to unmute when I finish this and we're going to discuss it. Lanugo, vellus, and terminal hair. In general, in cosmetology, those are the major three types. There are many other types of hair, okay? But these are three types that we're going to deal with in your lifespan. Lanugo, vellus, and terminal hair. Lanugo is extremely soft and downy. Vellus is very fine, soft hair, peach fuzz. Terminal, longer hair, coarser hair found on the head, brows, lashes, genitals, arms, and legs. Now, can you imagine, okay, where each one of these hairs are found? Where would vellus hair be found? It says very fine, soft hair, like peach fuzz. Where will you normally find vellus hair?
On the face.
Yeah, on the face, most of the body, on the face. And you know, when they're doing microblading, you've probably have seen that or may have heard of that. They're really getting rid of that peach fuzz. Estheticians will tell you they're in a cross. One, the hair on our skin, that vellus hair, is a protector of the skin, but it also, in some individuals, it could be something that they just don't like and they want removed, okay? And so that vellus hair is found mostly on the face. It can be found in other parts of the body, okay? Now, when we look at lanugo, extremely soft and downy, very fine, soft hair seen in fetuses and in people with malnutrition. So mostly when someone is born, when the baby is born, they say they have baby fine hair. They have what type of hair?
Nougat.
Baby fine hair, lanugo. Okay, lanugo. Now the edges and baby hair that y'all pulling out, your friends are pulling out these days, that is not lanugo hair. Lanugo hair has almost no pigmentation. Okay, almost no pigmentation. And if it does, it's very, very on the lighter end. It has not accepted full melanin. Okay, terminal hair is what you mainly see with your naked eye. You mostly see that on different areas of the body. It's longer, it's coarser, um, um, more pigmented hair on the scalp, brows, lashes, and body. Here's the thing: if we're going to be in hair removal, there is a moment in life where your body switches from lanugo to vellus to terminal. All right, lanugo to vellus to terminal. Well, when you have this soft hair, this peach fuzz like hair, and you're saying, I want to wax that. Okay. Sometimes peach fuzz hair is not ready, it's not mature enough to be waxed yet. It's just there. It's just as a protector based on genetics. It could be a lot of it or not, you know. But just say, for instance, on women, when we wax the lips or when we wax, do the dermaplaning, whatever we do, especially just say wax, removing the vellus hair too early can spark a conversation that says, tag, you're it, terminal. Oh, since they wax me, they think they all that. It's time for terminal to jump in. And you will have terminal hair reproduce in areas that vellus hair usually would be. Okay. So you can prematurely move a client, or a client can move themselves prematurely into terminal hair. That's where the myth comes from. Oh, if I shave this off, it's going to come back thicker, coarser, da 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 da. Well, a lot of times in between the waxing services, especially for new clients, you may take shorter, waxing vacations, whereas most people three weeks to a month, waxing. Where you may, on a new client, I may have to come in back to back for 2 to 3 weeks because I'm having to figure out the lifespan of this hair, where we at. Okay. And a lot of times, if the client is premature removing the hair and then they come in for professional waxing, things are kind of all over the place. All right. And based on genetics, strong background of a lot of hairy men, hairy women, strong background, they're going to have a lot of hair. And after you initially remove it, even with razoring, you initially remove it, you're going to have maybe more hair produced, and it will produce as terminal. Now it has taken on full melanin, full color, full strength. You can feel it, feel coarser. You know it's there. All right. And you definitely got to remove it now. Okay. It's not something you could just pass by. And a lot of times during puberty, this is happening. But when we do this too fast, all right, we do it too fast, we could push them into those areas too early. And I know for me, I don't want to do any waxing unless their parents are with me. If I have to do an elementary student, the parents, I don't, if I want to do 13 and up, I don't want to do, I don't think bikini waxing should be for kids who are not already in that middle school where they don't have, they have a thing with hair, or they're already having a thing with odor in certain places, and exception, do it. Okay. But I'm not going to just be doing it for cheer practice and all that. So I, I would just have my policies, just, that's just something I do. Because I had an experience where parents wanted waxing for cheer, and the student, the daughter, absolutely did not, and it was traumatic for everybody. All right, so I just said, no, we're not gonna do that at all. We look at hair components in hair removal. We talked about hair, and it's just the same makeup coming around. It's root and shaft. And so you have the hair that you can see and the hair that you cannot see. Please understand, you need to know the difference between a hair root and a hair shaft. Okay? A hair root and a hair shaft. Hair shaft, the hair that you see, located above the surface of the skin. Hair root is located at the bottom of the follicle. Okay? And when you are waxing, and then you pull back that strip and you see the white bulb, that is not the hair root. That's the bulb that comes from the hair root. All right. And so always remember, it's going to be an aspect of studying the components of the hair. Let's look at this. When we talk about components, 3 parts of the hair shaft: the cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. Cuticle, cortex, and medulla. And I think your last training, your last video, we talked about epilation versus depilation. On one of those things, we just said for existence, for example, Nair, okay? And how Nair literally just breaks down that bun. And it really does the breaking down like in the sulfide, in the cortex. So it has to sit on the skin, okay? Break down the cuticle, the hair that you see, and it has to go into the cortex and start breaking down those buns. That's how nail works, okay? And that's why we say it's similar to relaxers or any other kind of chemical, biochemical, and it's a very strong high pH. So think of the individuals that's just buying it off the shelf, putting it on, but they're probably having issues with dry skin or just overreactive components in that particular area, such as chemical burns and different things. So, as a professional, okay, opt for something that they cannot find over the counter, but at the same time, opt for something that your clients are going to say, hey, I'd rather go and let the professional handle this because I don't know exactly what this is. So we're liable for education. We have to educate them. So let's look at 3 layers of the hair shaft. So in this little piece that you see that has extended outside the skin, you have the cuticle, the cortex, and medulla. For my educators, especially Ms. Hill, would you say that you, in your beauty career, you'll never forget the cuticle, cortex, medulla? Could you say that we'll always hear this?
Yes, always. Anytime you're doing color cutting, you hear it all the time.
And so that's something we always reiterate, that this information is some of the same information taught 20, 30 years ago, which means you're going to hear this again and again and again. Okay. And it's going to be great info for you. So the more you hear, the better you understand. Let's look at the stages of hair growth. Okay. So hair grows in stages and is anagen, catagen, and telogen. This is going to be very important if you're going to be doing hair removal. Okay, very important. So, ladies, when I talk about creating those key points in those notes, that's what this slide does. It doesn't go word for word, page for page. It's basically taking a lesson out of the book. Okay. And these are key points that you can build to say it's going to help you with your test, or key points that's going to help them with some study reference. It must connect to something down the road. Okay. You may even say this chapter is going to help you with this chapter. Okay. So 3 stages of hair growth, things that I want you to always keep in mind. There's always anagen, catagen, and telogen. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Anagen, new hair grows. Okay. Catagen, transition stage of hair growth. And then telogen, final or resting stage. This is how I put it. Anagen, it is the growing stage. Majority of our time, our lifespan, hair is in an anagen. It's in a new hair growing. It's consistently growing. Okay. There's only a small period where catagen phase, the transitional phase, and transitional phase is like a pause. Okay, it's like, okay, we're finna get ready to switch this thing. We'll do what we could do. We'll grow this as far as we go. And at a just like that, I'm finna move. Okay. Just like that, I'm finna move to shedding. So we go from growing to pausing to transition and say, okay, now let's go to shedding. The catagen intelligent phase, we're not in those phases too long, but we're always in like a growing phase. All right. And so, and I want to say that this intelligent is like a 10% of time. But if you have clientele that has been coming to you for years and years and years, you may have understood or seen these times that this happens to this client. When with new clients, this is the conversation I like to have. And what time of the year did you notice your skin, or what time of the year did you notice your hair does this? Is there a weird time of the year where your hair falls out, that you shed a lot of hair? I'm just general conversation. If she tells me wintertime, okay? If she tells me wintertime and I say, is there a time of the year where you just see a lot of growth? If she tells me summertime, that's going to be consistent. Normally in warmer months, you have more hair growth, okay? Normally in colder months, the hair growth slows down. Okay, so I would ask additional questions. Are there any extra growth of hair in particular areas? Also, I would ask, how do you get rid of that? If you were doing it yourself, what do you used to do? And if you did do a razor on Monday, when did you start to see that hair come back in? All of those would just be little questions to tell me how fast or how slow or what's going on with their hair growth cycle, and I could pinpoint when they need to come back for a full body wax. That's really what I'm trying to do, is just pinpoint when do they need to come back for the full body wax or the full intimate area instead of doing like little pieces. Okay. But you have to understand anagen, catagen, telogen. All right. That also is going to help when clients talk about, is this oil going to grow my hair? Is this going to do this? Is this going on? If you understand the growth stages, the growth patterns of your clients, okay, then you're able to help determine the strategies for their hair growth, for their growth. Like if they're trying to grow 6 inches by such and such, if they're trying to improve a texture, if they're trying to do A, B, or C, it will help you understand. Many people do not want to be invested into that type of clientele, okay? Because they got to show up, they got to do some work. But the ones that are invested in this type of clientele, you will always have a client. As we proceed and begin to close out, we want to get ready for the educator that's going to give the business nuggets. We only got 2 more slides. It says methods of hair removal. This is what I see more on the rise. Okay, more on the rise is electrolysis education. All right, electrolysis education. My lady has created advanced hair removal and electrolysis course that's virtual, that's online. Um, and so one of my good friends just became a board certified in electrolysis, and electrolysis complemented by the health department. Okay, falls in line with the same people who do the tattoos and regulate the same people who do the tattoos, microblading, things of that nature. But with electrolysis, it sticks a needle down and retards the hair. So it's like, look, you're gonna stop growing. You're gonna stop doing what you're doing. Okay. And so electrolysis and lasering are some alternatives. If you want to go into advanced hair removal, I would suggest that you definitely do that because it is going to be a higher demand. Okay, it's going to be a higher demand. So electrolysis, removing hair by means of electricity, only true method of permanent hair removal. And with that comes a price tag. Do your research around Memphis and surrounding areas to see how much it is. You must be certified to do this. You literally sticking a needle inside it, all right, to retard, like giving an electric shock and shutting all that growth aberration, shutting it down. Looking at semi-permanent removal, so we talk permanent electrolysis. Semi-permanent would be laser. And please be careful. And I always tell individuals, lasering is becoming huge. Texas Laser Institute, my good friend Candace, if you ever want to have some laser training, she's the best in the country. But also, once you have her training and get certified, you're going to national registry with the laser institute, the laser certification, national laser certification, and there aren't many individuals from Tennessee. All right. If you're going to work for med spas or these huge spas, day spas, and you come in not only licensed as a cosmetologist, esthetician, but also have some advanced like laser training, laser certification, different certifications. You come in armed and ready. They can use you. It's time to go to work. They're going to find a job for you because now you have the credentials to bring in some of the more premium services. And premium services, when you talk money wise, you're talking about a laser treatment service that could be 10, 15 minutes that could cost a couple of $100. Okay. And so think about that as well as going to get some advanced treatment. When it comes to people of color, okay, people of color gonna be anyone but European people. If you're learning the laser machine, okay, and the initial photo light lasers, they're just basic, but please understand this. It has been dominated by a history of Europeans, okay, just for decades. Europeans, all right, they cultivated it. And so it has not been a lot of practice on melanated skin until years ago, okay. And at that point, it was like Fitzpatrick 3, 4 on down. And when I say that, I'm talking about Indian, Asian, things of that nature. So their skin is not as dark as African skin, put it that way. Okay. But the darker the skin, when you're going and you want laser treatments, be very, very careful of the lasers that you guys are using because that laser can cause spots of pigment to break up on their skin and then bunch together. So now you have melanin that's broken up and now you see white spots in that skin. Okay. And so you're going to target that area for lasering. Okay. But then the light around it will start to break up the melanin. And so you have clients, sometimes you have clients that want, I need to go lasering. That's all I need. And then she's a Fitzpatrick 5, which means has dark skin. And you go to someone and they're talking about they have a cheap laser, and it's probably the one with this photo light. And their photo lights are great, but some of the other ones, Honestly, when they said things aren't made for certain people, they're really not made for certain people. Okay. Because it may get rid of the hair, but now we have a pigmentation issue around in that particular area. And the worst thing a client wants is a hyperpigmentation or a hypopigmentation issue. That's white spots or dark spots around your skin. So be very, very careful. And when you're going to get laser, when your clients are talking about getting laser, so get some more training, find some great places you can train and refer on that end. But lasering is popular. It is very, very popular. All right. Any questions? Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but just if you wanted to go into more detail about the laser. So I was a medical esthetician for 4 years, and I worked with laser and did a lot of laser hair removal. I don't know if it's appropriate for your class, but if you wanted, you know, more in-depth explanation about that, I could help you with that. But I don't have any questions at all.
Awesome. That is an additional teaching resource. That's an additional teaching resource. And actually, my estheticians and my cosmetologists would love that. So whenever you got a little free time, that'll be amazing.
Got you.
Just let us know when you are available. We'd love to have you. They have class Monday through Wednesday. Just pick a day
Okay.
and we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Okay. And so now as we come to the closing, we look at Miss Paquetta, and as we closed out and we just did a review of the notes, the key points from your lesson, give me two things that stood out in the lesson. And y'all, two is like a bare minimum. So we're just doing two. Give me two things that may have stood out in the lesson, Miss Paquetta, while Miss Edwards prepares for her business nuggets.
The 3 stages of hair growth. I wasn't aware that the first no. I wasn't aware of the 3 stages or the 3 types of hair
Okay.
as well. So that one that stood out for me. What was something else? Well, I guess you could say it's part of the lesson, but it's what you just said about the hyperpigmentation
Mm-hmm.
or the rings with the laser and electrolysis and everything. I didn't know anything about that. I
Yeah,
didn't know that
you
was
can
possible.
do that. Yeah, it's part of that connection. You come in for cosmetology, but you may find a love, and there's so many other things connected to it. You can get additional certifications in um, as well. And this is a thing too. When you're home tonight, see if you can find those three types of hair. Like, where is the vellus hair? Where is the lanugo? And where is the terminal? And that gives you a good understanding as well. And it's the joking part is, when they're doing the edge control and things of that nature, and talking about they're doing the baby hairs and stuff. And sometimes it's just an inner laugh because I logically think that's not baby hair, that's terminal hair,
Yeah.
you know?
Can I say something about that? Because
Yeah.
I did some medium knotless on a girl. I think she was like maybe 14. Her mom was very specific that she did not want her to have those baby hairs. So that's fine because I don't like doing them no way.
Oh,
The girl literally pulled the hair out of the braids. And I think it might have been like 2 weeks later after I did the braids, the mom called me. She said, "Can you please redo like the first 2 rows of her braids? Because she has ripped the hair out from the braids." And I'm thinking it's just a little bit. No, baby
oh,
girl ripped out a lot of that hair just so her quote unquote baby hairs can touch her eyebrows.
that's the thing.
Yes. Yes, they want them just that bad. They will cut it. They'll cut their hair
Yeah,
to
I
get
was
the
thinking
baby
that.
hairs if they want it. But yeah, she ripped it out from the braid, from like snatched it out of the braid, and I'm like, okay, it ain't that bad. It's just a little bit. But when she came in, I'm like, you really pulled your hair out.
Oh wow. Yeah, them the conversations you gotta have with mom and daughter. Welcome to the crew. Oh wow. But yeah, you can use that information as well and let them know like this is terminal hair. Like this ain't just growing back like that, you know? Oh my goodness. Yeah. How old is the young lady?
I believe she was 14.
Yeah. And her body could be going through something as well. So tell them, you start cutting on stuff, it don't mean it's gonna come back the way you did it,
Right.
especially when they're going so much. Yeah. But yeah, that's and see that's experience. You hold that nugget in, and when it's time for you to share it with somebody else, boom, you got it. And I hope you had took a picture or two because that just helps put everything else together. She popped off, but Miss Edwards, we're ready for you.
Okay. So, my business nugget today, I want to talk about branding. So, most people, when
Mhm.
you think of your brand, you think of like your logo, your colors, your slogan. But I think that your brand is also, and more so, the reputation and the experience that people describe when someone asks about you.
Mm,
Um, so we can kind of go back to the first part of the lesson as well, how we talked about professional image and professional conduct. Those things are important to keep in mind. Let's just say you had a client who was out to brunch with a friend, and maybe one of her friends just got a pixie cut, like me. I cut my hair off 2 years ago. I always had long hair all in my life. And she might be like, do you know somebody who, does good waves or who can style a pixie cut, give like the Betty Boop curls and stuff like that. So if your client mentions you, what are some of the things that she's going to say about you? That's part of your brand. So people pay attention. They recognize how you make them look. Of course, they remember that,
mm,
but most people really carry with them how you make them feel.
ooh,
So,
ooh,
I would say that your brand, your reputation is built off of like results. So, of course, the results you give people, but how consistent are you? So, we all have our bad days. How consistent are you with just being bright and cheery when they come in? How do you communicate with your clients? How your professionalism, like your hygiene, how do you dress, the things you say to them, how do you greet them, and just the experience that they have overall. Me, for example, I've noticed in my reviews, most of my clients, I see over and over, she's very knowledgeable. She answered all my questions, so much knowledge, so much knowledge. So for me, I'm starting to realize that my brand is more, I'm kind of like, they look at me as the esthetician who gives them results, but I also educate them. And that sticks with them more than what my logo looks like or my colors are so cute. Like her colors, her brand colors. Nobody think of that. That is part of your branding, but really it's the reputation that that you put off to people. So your brand is more so what people say when you're not in the room, not just your logo and your colors and things like that. So always be mindful. We talked about some of the, what did you call it, pet peeves of stylists. So I would say for me, it's an esthetician or a hairstylist who is always gossiping about other clients, that don't look good. So I could have done your hair very well. I could have done your facial and your skin could have been glowing. But you gonna remember how I talk nasty about my clients, or those things are very important. So going back to the professionalism, the image, the professional conduct, all of that is a part of your brand. It's how people remember you. It's gonna bring you clients. word of mouth. So always pay attention to what you're doing and how you are perceived by your clients based off of your behavior and your professionalism, because that is part of your brand that's going to stay with you. And that's the first thing people going to talk about when they're recommending you to somebody else. That's what I got. Thank you.
Amazing,
Thank
amazing. You guys did an amazing job today. Amazing job today. I mean, step right up to the plate. And Miss Edwards closing it out, bringing it home. When they leave your class, you put something in their minds to think about. And that's what you want to do. You give them something to think about. How am I gonna do this? What are some good things that I have that I could pull out? So I want to say good job, Miss Hill. Good job, Miss Edwards. Closing
you.
and starting the class.
Thank you.
Starting the class and closing it. I'm excited about you guys' future and just so amazing. Miss Paquetta, how did you think the ladies did today?
I'm ready for them to teach tomorrow too.
So is
Girl.
that an open invitation whenever they were ready to come back?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome guys. We are excited. Her classes, this is a rescheduled class this evening, but her class is normally in the morning, Monday through Wednesday. Then they have their other training